statement from Coach, and we'll have questions. Can you grab a mic before you ask? That'd be good.
Obviously glad to get back on the floor last night and get a good win, regardless of the opponent. I thought our kids came out focused, ready to play. I thought we shared the ball a lot more, moved the basketball. Defensively, I thought we were pretty sound for the most part. Some areas we'll address in film here in a little bit this afternoon. And we won't do a ton today. We'll watch film on Omaha's game. We'll watch film on Iowa, personnel in Iowa, get on the floor, shoot a little bit, clean up a couple things, and then let them go. And then we'll have real good practice tomorrow before we head to Iowa City.
Last night you mentioned regarding Donovan, you said that you started to dive in more from a relationship standpoint. What do you mean by that?
Well, you just get caught up with so much stuff going on, to where the first thing you got to remember is they're kids, and they got to know you care, regardless of how they're playing or regardless of what's going on. That hey, first and foremost, I just care about you. I want you to do well and be successful, and so just making a conscious effort to pour into him more. Whether it's text message, a phone call, or calling him in the office, because he's a big key to our team. Because I think we have good depth on the perimeter, but because he did come into a tough situation where he obviously when he signed, he thought A, B, and C may not be here. They're here. He got hurt last year, then he got kind of banged up in the fall, and so he's been through a lot. And junior college kids, they want to come in and have great impact. They only have 2 years, which is obvious. People know that. You're not going to go want to just be a role guy for 2 years. You want to play, and so. But he's getting better. He's been good for us defensively. I thought the Miami game, he was great. Helped us win that game. I thought last night he ran offense. He made shots, and so I've got a lot of confidence in him. That's the biggest thing I just meant is that you got to pour into these kids a lot more than just you get so caught up in just, all right, I got to watch tape on Iowa, but that's great. But I think one of the things, the reason my teams have been successful, we've had good players. That's the number one thing. Don't never. But you care about who you're playing for, and you care about who you're coaching.
What's the challenge defensively against a team like Iowa that has a player that the offense obviously revolves around?
Yeah, Jock, he can make tough plays too. I haven't watched a ton on Iowa as of right now because I watched Omaha last night. I got in office. I watched Iowa this morning. Had a couple meetings, and I'll go back and I'll watch Iowa for the next couple hours, practice, and then watch them all night. But just watching Jock and knowing him, he can get his shot really anytime he wants it. Whether they run good offense or bad offense, he can make shots. And so we've really got to do a good job of denying him, being there on the catch, contesting all his shots. The one thing Iowa's been able to do, and I'm really diving into them now, but they're averaging 87 points a game, and they've played a good schedule. They played Notre Dame, Seton Hall, Virginia, Memphis. Those 4 schools are all really good, and so they can score. And so our defense is gonna have to travel over there.
Do you put him in a box and one this week? Just
No,
give me
no.
the whole game plan.
Yeah, if we were putting one in, I don't know if I'd say it right now today. No. But we gotta obviously make it tougher to catch.
You had mentioned last night that Deontay Burton is a completely different player maybe than was a year ago. I wonder if you could dive a little bit more into that, the changes you've seen out of him.
Well, I just think, he'll probably tell you last year he wasn't easy to coach. He wasn't necessarily really hard to coach, but he wasn't easy to coach either. Coming in semester isn't easy either for any player. And I thought he handled it really well. But again, it's relationships. I knew the kid for 4 months. And so you're trying to really get to know each other in the spring. He probably could have graduated and left if he really, really wanted to. And we talked about that a little bit. And I really just talked to him about my expectations, what I wanted to do, not just to help him here, but just to help him as he goes forward. And the way you go about things, the way you prepare, the way you work, the way you handle yourself. He's done all that. I know I joke about the shoes and the socks. I can let that go if you do the other stuff. But I think just being older, being mature, being a senior, I think people probably don't realize is, I mean, Deontay is very, very smart. I mean, he's gonna graduate, but he is really, he's got a super, super high IQ. I think he's really, really sharp. He's personable, but he's just put a lot of time in. I think he's matured to the standpoint that he'll tell you that, hey, I had to mature, I'm a senior, and he's playing like that. And so, and we joked last night about, some of those shots he shoots, you're like, oh, man. But, those are lessening, now the biggest thing we've got to get him to do is to make that extra pass. And I think he's seeing that now. And so, but he's just an offensive talent.
Coach, going back to last year's game, what's it like in the locker room? Utah has 30 in the first half. I know Matt takes him in the second half. He gets 2. How are you brainstorming, I guess, ways to shut him down, and Matt does it?
I think everybody was yelling at me. When George texted me last night that stay in Iowa City if you don't win on Thursday, because I text George and I said, were you guarding Klay Thompson last night? And so then he responded with that. But probably between George yelling at me about Utah, but I'm just joking, though he probably was. But we just had to slow him down. That was as good of an offensive performance as I've seen. I mean, we threw George guarded him, Nader guarded him. We had 2 or 3 different guys on him, and they just came out and really just hit us in the mouth. But the biggest thing, I didn't really talk about Utah. I think I just went in there in the locker room and talked about the one game that I remember watching the year before was the Oklahoma game. I don't know, you get to seize it, but I liked watching Iowa State. I liked watching Fred's teams play. So I was watching that game, and they're down 20, and then it's like 16, and then it's 12, and George and Monte are putting on a show and making shots, and I just told them to take that same mentality. And I mean, we're down 18. This crowd's so good, you're down 18, and it's just everybody's cheering it up, and I'm like, man, they're going crazy. We just cut the lead from 20 to 18. That doesn't happen everywhere now. Some places, man, they'll boo you. You're down 18 and cut it from 20 to 18. But that was really it. I mean, obviously Matt did a terrific job. We got a couple breaks down the stretch, but some of those games even out, and so, between the Cincinnati Gonzaga game, hopefully down the road, we'll have 1 or 2 of those come our way.
Kind of answered my question there with the comment on George, but did you learn anything about this rivalry in the first year here from George's intensity, but also what you saw in the game, just the ebbs and flows of that rivalry?
Yeah, I think every school you're at, probably this is the 3rd school I've been at where you have a distinct rival, non-conference and conference rival. And I think it's great, the rivalry. Obviously, whether it's football, basketball, the Cyhawk Challenge, I think that's really cool, how the 2 schools, do that and get the trophy at the end of the year. And so, when it comes from the top down, you obviously, as a coach, it's a big deal. And it comes from the top down that this is obviously really important. It's the next game. We got to win it because it's the next game. But I know what it means to these people. I know the rivalry, just being around our guys, listening to George talk, listening to those upperclassmen. Obviously, it's like we were walking off the floor. Monte was like, and he just said quietly, all right, man, now we got the Hawkeyes. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal for them over there too. And so that's why we got to go over there. We got to defend. We got to rebound, and we got to move basketball.
Is there any concern the guys doing a little scoreboard comparison, given how quickly
I don't think
played
so.
Omaha?
I don't think so. I think we were more, man. I think we were all just probably ticked off a little bit and ready to play, and played pretty well. I mean, you beat somebody convincing, I don't care who it is, you hold them under 50 points, it's pretty good, and score 90, it's pretty good. So, no, because Iowa's focus level, I'm sure, will be at an all-time high. I mean, they know this is a big game. It's a big game. Anytime you play another high major, it's a big game. And there's a big game when you play the other teams too, because you got to take care of business there. You can't have a hiccup on those games.
What do you expect out of Carver Hawkeye Arena in that environment? Obviously, 2 years ago, George blew a kiss at that student section. Probably don't expect much like that from guys this year, but what do you expect?
I really don't know. I've only been over there one time, it was snowing like crazy. That was a rough year anyway, because I was at Tulane dealing with Katrina, and we bussed from Iowa to Indianapolis, then played Butler. I mean, it was just a long trip, and so I've never really been over there in this environment. But I've played in great road environments, being in the Big 12 in the past as a head coach. And so I'm looking forward for a great atmosphere. I want to be tested on the road like this. I think this is great for this team right now. We need a character test on the road in a game we need to go get.
For Jock, for when he's got a green light like he does, what's, I guess, the danger where even if you slow him down early, he's gonna have the opportunity to keep shooting, shoot himself out of, you know, whatever you guys can throw at him?
Yeah, you just gotta stay the course, because, I mean, I'm looking at the stats right now. He's 40 from three. You know, half his shots come from three. I was watching today. I'm like, dang, he's good. We probably should have recruited him. So,
Tried.
no, I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
Long story.
But he's, you know, so we just, whether it's Naz on him, whether it's Nick Babb, whether it's Matt Thomas, you just gotta continue to send different bodies and wear him down and not get frustrated when, if he's taking 9 shots and he may have went 1 for 6 and then makes 2 out of 3, you can't get down on him. We just gotta stay with it. But just watching him today, he's very good.
Time for one more question.
Speaking back to something Travis alluded to last night with Deontay, how do you balance that sort of, he can make shots that most other guys can't make. Sometimes it looks like no, yes kind of deal. How do you balance that, get the most out of him, make sure he's playing under control?
Well, that's a fine line. I think that's one of the things I try to do a good job with not just this team, but all my teams in the past, is you got a couple guys that, you know, can get loose a little bit and maybe take some shots that, you know, some people will be like, oh man. And you gotta kind of let them shoot those shots for a little bit, and then you gotta slowly try to rein them in. And I think he's getting better with that. You know, he'll shoot that little reverse layup here and there. We gotta get him continue to go right to the rim, because he's so strong and physically, he can get fouled. But I think Deontay's playing a lot smarter right now, and we need him to be, because he's a guy that, when he plays well, you know, but we need everybody to play well. You know, that's the thing I think the strength of our team is, and I think we got several guys who can come in and do things, whether it's Babb or Jackson off the bench, Bowie coming off the bench, Solomon Young now, having him back, and we missed him those couple games, just the presence around the basket. And so, but all those guys, we all need to have better, you know, shot selection is huge. But you got good players, so you know they're gonna take some tough shots and make some. So you can't harp on them too much.